guys, welcome back to day 966 of living in a van full time with me and McCartney. This story is incredibly overdue, but I wanted to finally come on and talk about how I got my van, my 2011 Ford Transit called Val. As I'm sure you can all imagine, to choose Val, I took loads of precautions, did loads of research, and, carefully considered my decision in its entirety, which is obviously a complete and utter fucking lie because that would be the most out of character thing for me to do ever. So to give some full context, before I moved into my van, the previous year I had just moved back in with my mum after not being able to keep up with rent payments and bills and everything else that comes with life. I was working full time in a degree-based job. It was a job that I thought was going to be at least set me up for a career in the future. The job itself I felt really unfulfilled, but financially it wasn't sustainable. I was just kind of feeling like I'm gonna have a panic attack if I treat myself to a coffee, never mind start trying to think about saving for a mortgage. My mental health had naturally taken a huge decline, but I was battling OCD undiagnosed at the time as well. So that essentially meant that I was suffering with severe ruminating thoughts all day, every day, giving me a shit ton of anxiety. It was just something that I just didn't have control over. So yeah, I moved back in with my mum, and initially that was with the intention of trying to save for a mortgage to get me in a better long-term position for me and McCartney. Then when I did that, I was further away from work, so I was spending more on fuel. Cost of living crisis kind of came in. It was looking like it was going to be a long time before I would have anything substantial. I absolutely love the idea of living in a van. I used to sit and watch YouTube videos all the time. When I was growing up, I had a diary, and I remember in the front cover it said dream first car, and I used to put VW camper. This was something that was kind of always on my radar. I decided that I wasn't going to save for a mortgage anymore and that I wanted to save for a van. But this did still feel very much out of reach. But there was also another contributing factor, and it's that I was in a car finance agreement and I still had 3 years left on it. And something that kept ruminating in my head was that McCartney would be 8 by the time I would finish paying that off, and I would be almost 30. And whilst I don't believe this to be the case now at all, but at the time I was like, I'm going to be turning 30 before I get to start my life, and I'm going to have missed out on this opportunity to take advantage of it whilst I'm in my prime. That's a lot of shit. I was not in my prime. But that's how I was feeling at the time. But more importantly, I didn't want to start living my dream life and have a life that I enjoyed waking up for when McCartney was 8. You just don't know what's going to happen in that time frame, and I was mentally unwell at the time. So that was something I was heavily fixating on. I'm like, I don't know how healthy he's going to be. I don't know what else is around the corner, and I just don't want to wait until he's older to start going on these adventures. I want him to be in full health and be fit and all this stuff. So I came downstairs to my mum in a very dramatic strop and had a really big breakdown. I just sobbed. I wasn't happy in my job. I had no money. I was living back with my mum and I just had no way out. I just did not see how life was ever going to get better for me. And then I was stuck in this finance agreement with my car. It's even if I do solve these problems, that's then waiting for me as well. That's going to stop me from kind of getting on with my life. The literal next morning, we're talking 12 hours later, less than, I was on my way to work and a Subaru smashed into the back of me and wrote my car off. Out of everybody, I came off the worst. I hit my head off the steering wheel and had to get some morphine, but that was it. Very incredibly grateful. Everybody was fine, and he took full responsibility, as he should have, but he was very apologetic and couldn't have been better about it before I'd even got into work, because I was literally around the corner, so I went and parked and went into work to, get help, I suppose. I already had his insurance on the phone to me to say he was taking full blame. And then they paid my car agreement off. Whenever I think about this, it makes me want to cry, but I should have finished paying off that car finance agreement last week, which is insane. Once the morphine had kicked in and I'd calmed down from the shock, I was with my mum and she turns to me and she goes, "Are you going to go get your van then?" I was given a courtesy car for about 3 weeks, so I had to move really quick. I had absolutely no idea where to start, and I'd never driven a van. I still had next to no money, and my budget was really low, so I knew I was going to have to take out a loan. My credit score wasn't the best, so when I was looking at what I would be able to take out, I wasn't too sure I would actually be able to afford one already converted on such short notice as well. So then I think at this point I decided I was going to go and buy an empty shell and build it myself with no experience. But I did see one on Facebook Marketplace one morning and I thought, I just want to go pick her brain and actually see one in person, get some ideas and start gathering my thoughts on what I'm going to do for my next step. It wasn't to my style, but it was very much a blank canvas. In terms of layout and all the like features that I knew I wanted, like the double passenger seat for McCartney, it had access to the front cab from the back so I wouldn't have to get out and leave the van if I ever needed to in the night. The bed setup, the toilet setup, it was exactly what I was thinking of doing anyway. I can't even begin to explain how weird the feeling was that I got. Just something just felt, I don't know what it was, I just felt something. Okay. She had been built by a very wonderful and talented girl in the northeast called Beck. Beck had planned to live in here, but she no longer could due to arrangements with work. But I could tell she was feeling quite sad about selling her, which I totally understand. Like, she put a lot of time and effort and energy into building this. So we went on a test drive and we got talking, and turns out we'd gone to the same university 250 miles away. In fact, we'd been in the same building with literally just a set of stairs between us. She'd been studying photography, I was working as a photographer at the time. Just all these things, like everything we said to each other was just like mirroring. And then she told me that she'd been feeling quite frustrated recently because a lot of people had been coming to see the van, but she just wasn't getting the right vibe. They weren't interested. It was a lot of like time wasting. But she'd had this really weird feeling the second she saw me because she'd noticed my nails. I'd just had my nails done and they were black with silver sparkly stars on. But Beck had upholstered the ceiling with the fabric that you guys ask me about all the time. It's still up there. It was a black fabric with silver sparkly stars that matched my nails exactly. She told me that same day that she wanted me to have her, and she knocked off a good chunk so that I could afford her. So I went home, applied for my loan, and had the most anxiety-inducing few days waiting to be approved. But I was approved, and the money hit my bank within 7 days, and that's when I picked her up, knowing that the money should be coming into my account any moment on that 7th day. And I was like in the shower with the door half open with my phone on the floor, waiting for the notification, and then I got it, that it got into my account, and I texted her straight away like, I'm coming. That night I picked up my mum and took her to a random car park, and we picked up a Chinese takeaway on the way. And I got a fortune cookie inside, and the fortune cookie read, "You will move into a wonderful new home within the year." And that wonderful new home has been my home for 966 days. I actually still have the fortune cookie paper in here. I have it stuck on my wall at all times. I was never one to really be that big on like universe and manifesting and all that stuff. I think a lot of things I do put down to coincidence. But on this occasion, that was maybe one too many. I think, as most of you know, I've then since taken a lot of things out of Val, redecorated her massively. She looks like a completely different van, just to make it more my style. The electrics are still the same, the solar panels on the roof are still the same, the fabric in the front cab. There are a lot of things in here that Beck did that I'll always keep. That's the story of how I got Val, and yeah, how that car crash literally saved my life. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.